Skullgirls second encore, so precious is a life of many players who fight their way to the top of the mountain. But somehow, somewhere, deep lurking into the underworld, someone are in really need for surviving to this cruel and unforgivable world of canopy kingdoms. They must hurry before its life will drop down and attempt to engulf him inside. So join me on this journey to seek an answer to wie lange kannst du den Überlebensmodus in Skullgirls überleben?
It is no surprising that survival mode was one of the game modes that's must be present in all fighting games. Whether you like it or not, it's one of the core parts for fighting game that still represent till to this day. The first ever fighting game that has implemented survival mode was Power Instinct, a game that some of you have never heard about it. If you do, then you deserve a chocolate milk. Anyway, this game released in November 1993. It has its own survival mode and that's simply called Life Attack. That consists of defeating all 8 opponents with just 1 life bar, a similar concept to what survival mode is all about. And as the years progress, there are quite some noticeable fighting games that has introduced survival mode such as Tekken 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Capcom vs SNK 2. However, not all fighting games had the same survival mode one to another. There are others that have complete different concept, and that's what Dead or Alive 4 is all about. Released in 2005 by Tecmo on Xbox 360 and made available on Xbox One throughout backward compatibility in 2021, it is the 4th main entry in the Dead or Alive fighting series. What makes it so different is that it has score system that will display throughout the entire match, much like you would have seen mostly in arcade. From this point, the aim of the game is not simply to survive, but to achieve the high score as long as possible and taking advantage of its multiply the point score from combos and throws. It has a total of 100 levels and there are 12 different items, with at least 3 of them with a healing items that will drop whenever you defeat an opponent. By completing every single levels, you got an achievements, but sadly, no rewards nor unlockables. Dead or Alive 4 was not the only fighting games who had a unique survival mode. Someone does, but much older, like Guilty Gear XX Reload. Released in July 31st, 2003 on PlayStation 2, Xbox, PC, and PSP, is the first update to Guilty Gear XX and the 9th installment of the Guilty Gear series. A lot of change has been made throughout this version, as well as the inclusion of shadow characters. Shadow characters, as well as the golden one, are variants that provide a decent improvement to each other. Shadow variant gives you unlimited tension, while golden variant improves the damage and movement by a lot. You can unlock this variant throughout mission, story mode, and of course, survival mode. However, Guilty Gear had a complete different scenario. The way it works wasn't quite the same like in Dead or Alive 4. To this day, I still have no idea how it works, but as far as I know, the level will increase based on how many the damage you give to the opponent. The existence of shadows and gold characters can be found from its 20 levels. So for shadows, it started at level 20 throughout level 460, and for the golden variant, it started at level 480 all the way back to level 999, where you have to face Golden Soul to beat the survival mode. That's right, there's a total of 1000 levels in this game. But like I said earlier, the levels didn't feel the same as the other survival mode. Each time you defeat an opponent, you would get a total of 7 to 10 levels, depends on how good your gameplay is. In reality, the total number of rounds are varying, sometimes it's 80 or could be 120 rounds. With the history of survival mode in fighting games are unique, it is no different that Skullgirls had its own survival mode. Unfortunately, it wasn't as unique as the other one that I mentioned before, where this one labeled as an endless mode. But nonetheless, I still want to explore this game mode to see how hard it is. So let's deep dive and see what this game survival mode is all about. So the difficult that I choose was Sleepwalk. I can maximize it to Nightmare difficult, but for this video I'm not gonna set that in. And for the character choice is none other than Fukua. Why? Well, if you've been following this channel, there's a bunch of reasons why I pick her, mainly because her capability of having the fastest time to kill and reset compared to other characters. You can run with 2 or 3 characters, but me personally, I love to do it in solo, and there's a very good reason to it. So first thing first, you wanna do Quartal Seeker for a double punch to pull out a level 1 blockbuster, then approach to the opponent and do standing heavy punch, and jump heavy kick repeatedly until it's completely dead. I have done this countless times, and yet I love to do it every single time, especially when it comes to speedrun. I think it's the best alternative way to enjoy the single player modes. It's a lot of fun and challenging at the same time. All of that thanks to some people who introduced me to speedrunning. At round 10, the enemy became red and their damage increased significantly. There aren't any name for this specific round, so I'm gonna call this a red 40 run, because red 40, you know. Now technically it's called level, but I just love calling it round just because I play a lot of Call of Duty Zombies. I know it's not related, but let's just keep going. And then once we reach 118, we get the first golden boss Mary, which I don't think it's that any different. I could be wrong about this. If you do know why, please let me know in the comment. Anyway, once we beat her, it will reset and there's 17 rounds left to beat her again, thus the cycle continues. I love the fact that there are 2 special runs in this survival mode, so that it didn't get too repetitive and boring very quickly. Not long after that, I hit round 33 and I'm feeling something wrong with this game. It feels like that I got a damage boost. I don't know when that happened or why that happened, but I failed it. And that explains everything at round 69. As you can see right here, I managed to beat a single round of 1v1 with only 7 seconds, when in reality it wasn't supposed to happen, as the normal one would take about 10 seconds to beat an opponent, and not only me, so does the opponent had a damage boost too. Everything feels wrong suddenly. It feels like the game tried to hide something that wasn't supposed to be shown to players, like what would happen with my next discovery.
Excellent.
Now what you see right here is a character portrait after get hit by a blockbuster. It's not a rare thing, as it literally shown at least one if you play this game. What makes it different is that the portrait from this clip was from Boss Mary and not the one that's playable. I was surprised that I've never seen this image in my entire life, and I didn't even know this was exist until today. So I was curious and tried to dig up some in-game files to see her existence. If you go to UI file and then true_color_HUD, you can see the portrait right there, that_ Boss Mary. But I already beat her multiple times, so why this picture didn't show up? That's the thing, you had to kill her in her second phase to get this picture shown up, but the problem is, no other method was working. Yes it does, what the frick you talking about? You could literally do press knocks and Sashobu solo with Big Ben, or just level 5 Cannon Omega her face with Robo Fortune. Remember folks, always double check your information before making a video. Not even playing 3 characters to do THUs with full beaters would kill her, so the only way to trigger this is by playing survival mode on round 200 plus, which I think it'll cost you 1 hour to reach that amount. This survival mode turns into a weird turn once I discovered that the damage increased with every single round, and then on top of that, this random image appeared. Already, we're in the right direction to our journey. Fantastic. Round 468 is where the tension started to begin. I mean, look how desperate I am just to land a single hit on Cerebella. And this is the moment where the damage got increased significantly, to the point where if you get hit 10 times on minimum, it will kill you easily. So ladies and gentlemen, I presented to you the fastest game ever in Skullgirls.
Gentlemen and ladies, is not yet. Surprise!
Your eyes didn't lie to you. That's a perfect 1 second duration. It's even faster than a single second in Skullgirls. What about killing an opponent?
Like ox. Quiet!
Surprise!
Just about 6 frames faster. I know that some of you didn't believe me, so let's slow down the clip and we'll count every single frame. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. We're almost there, don't worry. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. There we go. And if you're curious how fast can I beat Boss Mary, that's the time. I felt like so much faster at this moment. With every 10 wins, it only took me about 3 minutes. But sadly, my journey ends in round 583, which take me about 4 hours and 30 minutes total of gameplay. Not a bad record, tried my best as I could, even though earlier with a piece of crap, but I'm still proud for what I've done. So now that we know how much time that it takes, let's analyze it and see if it's worth it or not. After you get 400 wins, the next 100 win would have cost me 35 minutes. Now it depends whether you got super lucky by having so many 1v1 battle or not, but let's just say that 35 minutes was the average time. And this is gonna be stay the same for its 100 wins in the next one, 600, 700, 800 and so on. Meanwhile, my progress throughout 1-1 to 400 are taking up to 3 hours and 2 minutes. If I was able to make it into 1000 wins, the total amount of time was 6 hours and 32 minutes. That itself was almost 7 hours. And an entire 10,000 wins total would be 65 hours and 20 minutes, or about 2 days, 17 hours and 20 minutes. Now is it worth it to reach either 1000 or 10,000 round? Absolutely not. It's not worth your time in any shape or form, but for research purpose, I'm gonna go for 1000 wins. It sounds like a bad idea, but let's see how it goes.
And as it turns out, it was a bad idea.
It's okay. You get.
After realizing what I've done, there is absolutely no way back. Every single progress that I made, it gets even worse. My mind goes insane with every seconds are ticking. It's like a time bomb. I spent about a total of 14 hours just to lose my progress 3 times. However, all of that toil finally pays off. As a result, I finally reached 1000 wins. There it is, an achievement that I don't think it's important, but it's still worth in my book. Though the journey wasn't gonna end just like that, I still want to explore more and what technically happened at round 1000 plus. First, let's talk about the damage. From this point, the damage multiplier already maxed out. I tried to compare it in round 500, as you can see that there aren't any different at all, assuming that it already maxed out before round 1000, but I didn't realize it until now. And lastly, whatever I'm on special round, it didn't kill them in one single blockbuster, even if they got counter hit. So I'm assuming that their health value are much larger compared to normal one. However, I'm not entirely sure about that. But I think that's just about it. There's really nothing changed throughout the entire round 1000 plus. In the end, I die on round 1104 because I went AFK for a long time. And that's gonna be the conclusion of everything in survival mode. Or is it? Now, I want to end the video right here. However, there's still an unanswered question that we need to know. I mean, yeah, I already reached 1104, but that doesn't mean it solved everything just like that. And I cannot justify spend another hours, possibly days just for survival mode. That'll be a waste of time. Luckily, there's a possible way to bypass any round simply by using a simple trick that everyone knows and loves. cheat engine. Everyone knows cheat engine. It's one of your childhood that helps you in a financial difficulty. But if you aren't familiar with this, it's a software that allows you to cheat or input any amount whatever you want inside a game, such as money, experience, items, and many more. Most people use this software in a single player game like Need for Speed, Pokemon, or Grand Theft Auto to make them rich in-game. However, not a lot of people know that cheat engine can also change any amount that is not money, experience, nor item. Take an example in Black Ops 2 Zombies. You can see right here that I have 2 grenades in my inventory. And here, I have the value available and ready to use. Let's say that I want to change the amount of grenade to 1. I can just change that in a matter of seconds. And if you look at it, I have 1 grenade left instead of 2. Not only that, I can make the grenade use infinitely. Just check into the active box and now your grenade had an infinite amount. And that's how cheat engine works. So my curiosity come in when I tried to do that in Skullgirls. To do this, make sure to input the value to 0 first so that the process is way faster and easier. Then, after you beat 1 round, you want to change the number to the exact number that's shown in the screen. For example, if I have 3 wins total, that means I have to change the value to 3, and then press next scan. Repeat this until you got the correct value. You should be able to get it on the 3rd to 4th scan. Once you have found it, simply just drag them down. Now, you can see right here, there are 2 values. The below one is of course the win counter, but the other one remains unknown. Keep that in mind because it's very important later on. And it's worth to mention that the value will randomize if you attempt to quit the game, so saving the value will do nothing if you want to attempt it second time. Anyway, just the below value and just input the value whatever amount you like. For this one, I'm gonna input 40,000. Simply win the round or wait until your health is in lead. You can see that it's shown as you had a total of 40,000 wins. But what about the second value? Folks, this is where the fun begins. Remember that time where the damage went up on each run you progress? Well, it turns out that this value is what caused all of that. There's no specific name for this, but I'm gonna call this as damage multiplier. Sadly though, I can't figure out how it works. You can literally input any value however you want without relying on what run you were on. Even on round 1, you can make it look like that you have a cheat or something. But be careful, your opponent also affects the damage multiplier. Now that I know how to bypass the round, I can finally look around and see what's the highest round was. Not even a minute in, there's a number that came into my mind instantly. That number was 2,147,483,647. Hey everyone, it's the future me, and I want to let you guys know that some of this information I could be wrong. The reason that I said that is because I'm not a programmer. And so all of this information that I'm gonna be mentioned are based on my research from internet and not from my best knowledge. So correct me if there's any misinformation. And with all that said, I apologize and let's continue. It might sound very random, but in actuality it has meaning behind those numbers, and I'll explain that later. Anyway, input this number in both value. Now pass a single round and see what happened after this.
Gentlemen and ladies, it is time to fight!
Surprise!
Excellent!
This round is particularly interesting for a couple of reasons. One, as you can see, the win counter has completely gone, meaning you can't tell which one you were on. Second, all of the damage turned into one hit kill. No matter if it's chip damage, both of you and the opponent had the ability to one-shot each another. And lastly, the opponent do the losing animation, which is supposed to be doing the knockout animation. However, same thing cannot be said if you're up against 2 or 3 characters, because they're just gonna pretend that they are fine even though their health was at 0. But why does it have to be this number? What could possibly mean for that? Simple. The number 2,147,000,000 is the maximum positive value in a 32-bit integer system. Basically, if the value was higher than that, it will result in many different outcomes caused by integer overflow, such as turn the value into negative or potentially game crash. This value was a common maximum value for almost every single game, and not only in Skullgirls but also in other games too, like the highest cash amount both in Grand Theft Auto 5 and RuneScape. So that's why when I bypassed 2 billion and 147 billion, the function to calculate the damage multiplier was so high that it just completely breaks everything. In result, making the damage value goes infinite, aka one hit kill. Now technically you can still progress after that, simply just snap them and everything is okay. However, building a meter was not easy, because your objective was not to get touched by any attacks. Except if you're on Mary boss fight, because every single attack from her does chip damage, but you could easily counter it with any range attack. Somehow, that is not the end of it. As it turns out days later, that number was not the maximum. There are even more higher than that, to the point where we reach the barrier. Now before we continue, I have a simple math question for you. What is the total of the number that I mentioned earlier when multiplied by 2 and then plus 1? Correct. It's 4,294,967,295, aka the true highest value for 32-bit integer system. But wait, didn't you just say earlier that this number was meant to be the maximum value? Well, yes, but in actuality, no. The number that I mentioned earlier was a signed integer, while this one marked as an unsigned integer. So what's the difference? Signed integers can store or input both positive and negative numbers, while unsigned can only store or input positive numbers, including 0. Likewise, the minimum and maximum value for signed integer was negative 2,147,000,000 and positive 2,147,000,000, while unsigned are ranged from 0 to 4,294,000,000. You would think with that much of a value, the game will crash just like that after you pass a single run while in that round. That is untrue. In fact, the opposite way happened. Instead of crashing the game, the value will reset back to 0. The system doesn't crash, it wraps around in a predictable way. This is all due to behavior of modular arithmetic. Now what the hell is modular arithmetic? Modular arithmetic is the arithmetic system for integers constructed around the uniqueness of reminders given by the division algorithm. And to simplify it, it's the same idea as how clocks wrap around after 12 hours. For example, if you add 5 hours to 10, you get 3, not 15. That is because the clock system used modulo 12. It's pretty simple. The formula for this either a plus b mod m equals r or a mod m equals r. So the rule is you had to multiply the mod value until it's made the exact or nearest value that was from a plus b or just the a value itself. If the value was too high for the a value, then you had to choose which number that was as near as the one from a value. For example, 20 mod 7 equals 6, because if we multiply 7 by 2, it's 14. That number is still lower than 20, and if we multiply it by 3, it's 21, and the number was higher than 20. So in this scenario, 20 was the A number and 14 was the result number of 7 multiplied 2. So if we combine all of that, 20 minus 14 equals 6, thus 20 mod 7 equals 6. So why is this important in a 32-bit integer system? Because without modular arithmetic, the system wouldn't have a consistent way to handle overflow. That's why the good thing about modulo is it keeps math predictable and efficient without crashing and no extra step. Alright, now back to the unsigned integer. The formula for this one was open bracket a plus b close bracket mod 2 exponent 32. Why this number? Because a computer with 32-bit unsigned integer can only count from 0 to 2 exponent 32 minus 1. That means all arithmetic is done with mod 2 exponent 32. And so, open bracket this much plus 1 close bracket mod 2 exponent 32 equals this much mod this much equals 0. Yes, I know I'm not an expert on explaining math. Me also wasn't good at math too. But I hope you all understand every single bit. But what happens if you try to input negative value? You can, because every time you input any negative numbers, that value will turn into positive numbers, minus any number that you input in negative. For example, if I try to input negative 1 billion, that value turns into 3,294,000,000, because 4.29 minus 1 is 3.29. Even if you try to change the code type to float, which is possible to input any negative number, that number is still on positive value. Unfortunately, they are no different in terms of damage from the maximum signed integer to 4 billion. But I found something new happen the more I keep going. Everyone knows that your health decreasing after taking a damage. Consider that's a very common thing, it's not too surprising. However, that's not the case when you're in round 4,280,000,000. Because what happened next, the damage value turns negative. In result, your health are regaining instead of decreasing it. This is the most cursed thing I've ever seen playing this game for 6 years, and it's even cursed when I realized you can reach the health value to maximum in a matter of seconds, to the point where it could kill you if it was too high. Besides that, if you go to this round, the damage was non-existent at all, and when I said it's non-existent, it's like punching a solid win. Or even better, if you go to the next round, you're about to witness the lowest damage ever in this game. It's so low that the chip damage are more powerful compared to this. I mean, just look how harmless is this. We're like in a pillow fight or something. Eventually, the damage will increase slowly over the next 100 rounds before returning its entire value to normal. And when I think about it, the moment where I can watch it kill to the opponent was not because the damage value was infinite, but because the health regain was so high it breaks the barrier where it holds the maximum health amount. But then again, I'm not a programmer, that's just part of a theory in my head. However, if you do, then I need your help to explain what on God's are going on right here. Because it's too damn complicated, and at this point, my brain was fried enough to the point where it's golden brown. So I think that's gonna be the end of this video. It's kinda crazy to think about it when a regular survival mode turns into something you would have never seen before and something that the game doesn't tell you. But the real question is, how long can you survive the survival mode in Skullgirls? The answer is endless. Because earlier I mentioned that when we reach maximum unsigned integer, the run will reset back to 0. I thought there's gonna be a limit where the game would crash or something. Well, now we know that the word endless are meaningful in this game. Besides that, I don't think that a single human being could beat an entire 4,294,000,000 wins in survival mode. If someone does, that would be 28 centuries, 5 decades, 4 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, 14 hours, 21 minutes, and 22 seconds total of work time to max out the value. And I don't think you could live more than 8 decades even. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more secret for this game, make sure to drop a subscribe and notify me to edit a video, because I have a bad schedule and I assume to myself. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.
To stop this mother takes one bad brother.
It's time to wrestle like bear. Not yet.
Go for it. Die.
Downtown.
Resist.
Downtown. Fresh.
Stay down.